Welcome to James Hates Everything, and thanks for joining me tonight. And I knew you could because you certainly can't be playing your AtGames Legends or ALU right now. And that is why we are here tonight, folks. We are going to talk about what is happening, why it's happening, how it could be avoided, all that and more. So thanks for joining us. Let's stop talking about it and let's get into it. All right, guys, as I mess around here with the layout, appreciate that. Want to thank everybody who's taken time for this quick impromptu stream tonight. Of course, we have a stupid fat hobbit in the house who says, looks like the remaining pinball packs for 2024 are also delayed. And we will get into that. Cornercade is in the house. We got Josh Dandy. We got Dr. Z. We got Mad Dog. We got Empire Arcade, Penny's Arcade, and we got quite a few other people watching. So really appreciate you joining us. So let's just get right into this with the latest news. Of course, if you haven't been paying attention, sometime this afternoon, AtGames went down. Their servers that you need to play your Legends 4KP or to play your ALU, all of those, even your Legends HD, basically everything that they make that requires online connectivity is now down and unusable because of their server issues. But as we've just learned right around maybe an hour ago, the problems just keep mounting. You'll see here, we have this wonderful announcement posted to their Facebook page that says, update that we want to share an update regarding the releases of the upcoming pinball packs in light of our current service outage. That's right. We have essentially 5 to 6 tables coming. You got the Natural History 3 pack. You have the 2 Zen tables all coming before the end of the year. Now that's all thrown to the wind. We don't know if we'll get them Thursday, the ones that were due this week. We don't know if it will be next week because of the holiday, or will it even be pushed further out, maybe into the new year? We just don't know because AtGames isn't telling us. Of course, they are telling us in an effort to maintain transparency, the following pinball pack releases risk missing their original release windows and are considered to be determined until we have a concrete resolution. Of course, those are the Zen Studios Sorcerer Lair and Wild West Rampage, the AtGames Legends Pack 3 for Legends 4K devices, and the rare pinball pack. So even the rare pinball packs are affected for that Sea of Thieves. So quite a few. Now, here's where they get into telling us what the issue is. And they they did this, of course, they announced this earlier today that this was the issue, that these delays are the result of a DNS transfer issue, which has impacted operations. This is a standard, but sometimes lengthy process. Importantly, there is no issue with the firmware or systems themselves. Our platforms, powered by AWS Azure and CacheFly, remain secure and fully functional. The entire AtGames team is working diligently to finalize this process, and we will provide updated release timelines as soon as we can. Please know that we are committed to delivering our newest pinball packs as soon as possible, and your support fuels us. We share your excitement for these releases, the new experience that come with them, and we're confident in stellar gameplay. Blah, 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 blah. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about their announcement, but we are going to talk about this issue. And I saw P-Dubs dropped an interesting hint. He says, is this going to be a yearly thing, implying that AtGames let their domain name expire, which could be an issue. That definitely could be one of the problems. It would imply it isn't the atgames.us domain. If that is the case, it would be some other domain. Boy, and if they let it expire where the DNS doesn't work, that means it's gone past the 30, 60, and 90 days as into a recovery period. So big no there. But if it was just that, they could have paid it and got it turned back on pretty quickly. So that I don't think is the issue. So before we get too far into that, I do want to kind of explain for those who don't really know what DNS is. And it's important to start at that foundation. It's more than just a domain name, right? And really, DNS is one of the most basic functions of the internet. And as being so basic, it is also one of the most critical. Now, I know a lot of you guys in this community are tech guys. You probably understand that, but I guarantee you that there are people here watching, listening right now, or watching the recording that really don't understand what DNS is. But essentially, what DNS is the phone book for the internet, right? It's a way to translate names like atgames.us to an IP address like 10.6.254.13, for example. You could never remember all those numbers, so they created DNS in order to make the translation from names to numbers super easy. And in doing so, every network operator has to run their own DNS server. And that's because DNS is a distributed system across the entire internet. And it starts at the top. So they call that the top level domain, right? That's your .com, .us, all these things. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because it's not really all that important. But your DNS server, so that from your internet service provider, when you decide to fire up that AtGames Legends, if this is the first time you've done it and you're the first person on your internet provider to do it, it's going to reach out and it's going to ask your internet provider's DNS, hey, I need to get to say login.atgames.us. Where do I go to get that? And it's going to look through its directory and it's going to say, I don't know. And so then it's going to go up to that top level DNS, the one run by the people that own and operate .us in this example. And it's going to ask them, who do I go to find out where this server is? And it's going to come back and say, hey, here we looked, and atgames.us DNS server is this server way over here. And let me remove this overlay real quick. It's going to say you need to go over to this server over here. That's AtGames. That's going to tell you where you need to go. So then your internet provider goes to that server and says, hey, where is this server? And it's going to look and it's going to say, hey, that server is login.atgames.us is 1.2.3.4. And it's going to tell that DNS server. And so that's the DNS server is then going to write that down. It's going to say, oh, okay, it's at 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's going to send it on to your device, your AtGames 4 KP. And then that device is going to communicate directly with that server to send your authentication, start your game, whatever. That's the basics of how DNS works. But a critical function of DNS is caching. You'll remember I said that your DNS server, that of your internet providers, is going to write down what that address is. Well, that's to prevent all that communication that we just talked about happening over and over thousands or millions of times a second as many people all across the internet ask it. So instead, your local DNS will cache that translation, the login.atgames.us to the 1.2.3.4, so that when your neighbor fires up his AtGames and tries to log in and it asks its DNS server, where is login.atgames.us, it doesn't have to go anywhere. It looks in its own table and it says, hey, here it is. And then boom, you're on, you're going, all good. That process of, remembering that address is called DNS caching. And so this is why this is all important, because this is all avoidable. Because whether AtGames was truly moving from one DNS host, their name server, say, moving their domain from GoDaddy to Network Solutions or some other domain name provider, that's called a transfer. They could have been doing that. They say transfer, but I don't think they actually mean transfer, because I don't think they changed their registration provider, because if they did, that registration provider would typically just copy over the existing DNS record from the transferring authority to their new authority. So I don't think that's truly what happened. Instead, likely what happened is AtGames or their hosting provider, AWS, or one of these other companies that they work with, notified them that they need to change their IP addresses. And so, hey, we'll take care of all of that on our end. And really, then AtGame's only responsibility is to update their DNS record at their name server with their new addresses. And a rookie mistake from a DNS admin is to just be like, sweet, I'll go do that when it changes and all will be good. And so then the time comes, AWS makes that DNS change. The AtGames admin logs on, puts in the new addresses. Hey, we're good. And then all of a sudden, everything is down. And why is it down? Because of DNS caching. See, the standard caching length of that translation from a name to an IP is 24 hours. That's typically the standard, and that is entirely controlled by the domain name owner. They can change that however they want with their DNS provider. You can reduce it down to 0 if you want. And so now what's happened is all of the servers, all of us players that have been using this thing, all of our servers are cached with that bad address. So we can't reach AtGames at all because we're going to the old addresses and it's all borked. And they can't do anything because it's cached everywhere. You can't go to every provider and say, will you please clear your DNS cache for us? That's not even humanly possible. So I'm sympathetic with AtGames right now because they're probably going through hell. There's probably an admin over there that's really kicking themselves for missing this one little simple step. And that is to change your TTL setting, your time to live. That's the setting that tells servers all over the internet how long you want that address translation cached from, say, the default of 24 hours down to 5 minutes or even less. That way, and you typically would do that, say 25 hours before or 48 hours before your move, because you want to make sure that that new time to live has time to propagate, meaning update every server. As we talked about, it's going to take 24 hours for all those DNS servers to say, it's time for me to refresh my table. And you want to do that far enough ahead so that everybody gets the new time to live so that it's very short. And for that period, you're going to have increased traffic on your name server. It's not a great practice, but it's what you do when you are moving these things. And that way, when the move goes, you then flip it and it only takes, any up to 5 minutes for that to propagate and you're live and nobody even notices you made the move. Better yet, if something with your IP changes fails and you have problems, you can flip right back because you only need another 5 minutes to propagate. But once you've done it, once you've propagated, once you have everything up and confirmed it's working, then you can update your TTLs again back to 24 hours. Within 5 minutes, it'll propagate all over the internet and you're back to normal. So it's a very, very simple process, and it is a rookie mistake to not pay attention to these things whenever you are updating IPs or migrating from one DNS host to another or transferring your domain from one registrar to another. And it is a shame that they missed something so simple. Now let's talk about the other problems because there are many. And so, like I said, I don't want to kick AtGames where they're down. They're stressed out. They're losing lots of money. This is going to set them back quite a bit. People can't use the things they've purchased. It is very, very frustrating to be in that situation. And I think every network admin probably lives that at once in their life to learn from. And, it's just a shame they didn't have somebody there with experience that knew how these things work and could ensure. Because if you're a network admin, you got one job, and that is to ensure that the services your company provide that rely on network services never, ever go down. And that means building redundancies. That means multi-homing. That means understanding how DNS works and having primary and secondary DNSs and understanding how that propagates and how BGP works for routing and things like that so that you are never down. That is the job of a network admin. And unfortunately, they stumbled. But a lot of people are now criticizing AtGames for only putting out this notice on Facebook. It may also be on X if they have an X account. But here's why, right? Their DNS is offline. So when you have DNS issue, you can't send email. Your email server, critical part of email is when you send, there's a reverse lookup by the receiving email server to make sure you're legit. It's an anti-spam technique from way back in the day. And so their email won't go out. Even if they have network connectivity, the servers coming back aren't able to hit their server. And so nobody would accept their mail to begin with. And so they have a lot of one-way traffic issues that aren't going to allow them to send any email. Now, theoretically, they could dump some addresses to a file, move them somewhere else, pay a lot of money to have some email provider send out some message, but it wouldn't come from AtGames. It wouldn't look legit. It was just a mess. So the only thing they really can do is fall back on this other forms of communication, which are social media, unfortunately. So don't beat them up too bad that they didn't send an email out to everybody, because they probably can't. That's one of the major issues. But again, avoidable. They could have avoided all this if they just did a little prep ahead of time, kind of knew what they were doing with this. Because let me tell you, companies don't force DNS transfers on people. They don't just magically change IP addresses without tons of notice to AtGames. So if AtGames claims they didn't see a notice or weren't told and it just happened, that is not true. It just means they weren't paying any attention. But, again, probably just a simple mistake of not understanding truly how to do a successful DNS change or migration. But here is my biggest problem with this whole thing. And that is, we're all locked out. We've paid $2,000 plus $5 to $15 per pinball pack, up to $35 for the pinball packs if you're buying the Magic Pixel packs, and you can't play them. You can't switch to offline mode unless you're logged in. And a guy like me who has lots of experience troubleshooting computers and devices, the first thing I did when I couldn't log in is I wanted to, hey, let me flip over to the network settings. Let me see what it's doing. Maybe this thing isn't connected to the internet, and let me run some quick network tests. Well, I bring up the network test menu, and lo and behold, I can't run a network test unless I'm logged in. What goddamn sense does that make? Because chances are, if you're doing a network test, it's because you can't log in and use your 4KP. This is the stupidest user experience I've ever seen in my life. It is a roadblock. This is the problem with this stupid digital future where you own nothing and you will like it. We are all now locked out of this shit, can't play any of it because they think they know better, that they have you tied to this bullshit where you have to log in almost every single time you turn your device on. You can't play any game unless you're logged in. It makes no goddamn sense that you cannot fall back to offline mode if they can't talk to the server. This is horseshit. We should demand more, and it's bullshit that AtGames is doing. I'm just going to flat out say it right now. It's the worst user experience you could possibly give to have simple network issues lock people completely out of a physical machine that should not require internet at all unless it's just to upload your high scores. It's absolutely horseshit. We buy these things, they're downloaded to the system itself, should not be required. The only time I would say that should be required is for those people that they need to have the leash on in or because they did the affordable financing program. I'll give them a pass on that because you haven't actually paid for the whole thing yet. But other than that, it's none of their goddamn business if you want to play offline or not. And they should not have you forced to be logged in to do any of this. That's not what we've paid for. That's not what is right or just or anything. So yeah, I'm fired up about that. That kind of user experience is absolute bullshit. These are not online games. These are games that you download to play on a physical device. There's no online multiplayer. There's literally nothing that requires you to be connected to the internet. It doesn't even upload your scores until after you close out of a game. So even in the game, there's no reason to have internet connectivity. It's all just jacked bullshit. So I've said my piece there. Again, not going to beat them up for the issue. It's a mistake. Hopefully they learn and never repeat it again because it's simple to get around. Super duper easy if you just take time to prepare properly, right? Keep it simple and just prepare. But by God, the user interface that when they don't prepare, when they make a mistake and your system is useless as a result, should not be accepted by anyone. That's something we should demand AtGames change immediately. This should never, ever happen again from this standpoint. I don't care if they get hit by a meteor. We need to be protected, that our investment is protected. This thing costs a lot of money for people. And if they're susceptible, if they have financial trouble, if they have a natural disaster, if they have a fire in the data center, if AWS has a nationwide issue, which they've had before, there are things that can happen. And AtGames having us tied to all these things for a non-streaming, non-online required system is absolutely unacceptable, and they need to fix it. So rant over. Let's see what you guys think. I know there's been lots of chats flying by. And I think I see here a $1.99 super chat saying, explain this to me like if I'm a 5-year-old. Well, hopefully I did with that whole phone book analogy. Tried to keep it as simple as possible because that's really all DNS is a phone book. It's a bunch of interconnected phone books so that you don't have 100 million page phone book. Instead, you got a bunch of small phone books all over the internet that all talk to each other and know where all the phone books are. So appreciate the super chat. And you know who else thanks you in this case? See, I guarantee you the GRS Build-A-Cade FU edition is not going to keep us locked out from playing it if there's a network issue, because Glenn knows how to build a system, unlike apparently AtGames. So I know we had lots of chats going, so I'm probably going to go in reverse order here, or I'll never catch up. Let's see. Goofyfoot says you have to buy two, one for online and one for offline. Yeah, maybe that's the new strategy. Let's see here. Says, so I assume you are a network admin in your day job, right, James? I am not, but I have been. I've worked pretty much every position in IT you can possibly imagine. I'm a developer at heart. That's what I enjoy most of all. But I've worked everything from network to security, web design, tech support, technicians, you name it. I've done that role at some point in my life. And it's, when I don't know how much I've talked about this on this channel, but I used to own my own company. It was a telecommunications company. And when your job is selling network to people, by God, you better understand how all these things work. And, make sure you provide it with lots and lots of reliability, or you don't deserve to be in business. P-Dub says, James, you are officially appointed as the new Harmicade Community Secretary of DNS. Yes, indeed. I like that. The Secretary of DNS. Jason says most people will think when it prompts you to install the tables to internal memory or memory card, they actually can play anytime. This needs to be fixed. That's exactly right. What is the point of downloading and installing if you can't play them when you can't connect to the internet? There's so many things that can happen that can knock a machine offline. What if your own internet is down because of a hurricane or something? Oh, you live in Florida and it's going to be 2 or 3 months before we get your internet back because of a hurricane. Sorry, your 4KP is just a paperweight for the next 3 months. Unacceptable. MG says it means their payment system is also down. Quite possibly. However, I don't believe their website is down, but let me check that real quick. Yeah, their website is up and working just fine. So their website's hosted somewhere else. And so it's probably the DNS for that wasn't affected. So either they have a different domain that they use under the hood, which is entirely plausible because they want to stay invisible to hacking attempts and whatnot, or again, it was an internal DNS change that screwed up. Yeah, and I think Goofyfoot here, if I find my mouse, Goofyfoot, I think he says technically you'll have two offline. I think he's referring to there's a couple tables that came native on your 4KP that I think will naturally play offline without all the settings. I believe on Jurassic Park, you can play those tables. I would imagine on the Addams Family, it's the Addams Family one, but I haven't verified that. So I don't want to say that for sure, but I think that is the case. Officially Unofficial says someone needs to be fired over this. This is a rookie mistake and the third or fourth outage in under a year, James. It's nothing but clowns running the company. So this is what I'll say to that. Like I'm a firm believer in you allow people to make mistakes, and it's only when the same person makes the same mistake that you hold them accountable to that mistake. You take it as an opportunity to learn. It is a screw up. It is one of those things that says, hey, it's Q4. We can't have these kinds of things. Our company's already in a situation that can't stand this, but some things happen outside of your control. And you just, I think it's just warranted as a good manager, a good employer. You've got to let your people be free to make mistakes, even if they're big ones. But what you don't do is allow them to make the same mistakes over. It should be taken as, hey, you learn, you move. Now, there's difference between a mistake and sabotage. You don't tolerate sabotage, right? Not that this is the case. I extremely doubt that. This is probably just a simple mistake. And other mistakes can be made. AtGames is running based on what they've thrown out there, right? Some sort of containerized service on AWS that has some complexity behind it. They can have issues that are a result of AWS. They can have issues with the way they deploy updates to their system. There's lots of things that can come into play that aren't necessarily, say, the networking guy's problem. So could be some of the software development team or some of the system administration, the cloud services team screwed something up, or it didn't deploy right for one reason or another. There's a million things that can knock a company like this offline. And we're used to big giant companies like Netflix and Nintendo and Sony. They don't typically have these kind of issues, but AtGames isn't a giant company. It's a fairly small company, and chances are, based on how they do their development with all these contractors, it's quite possible their network teams, their system and admin teams, stuff like that, are actually a bunch of contractors as well, which limits their ability to do stuff. Now, I don't know that for a fact, so don't take that as uh, you know, uh, whatever, as fact. I want to say as gospel, right? But from what I've seen, they do a lot of contractors, and yeah, if a contractor screws up like that, you're paying a premium for a contractor because they're experts. They've done these things, and if that happens, you better believe that the company that owns that contractor, the one that you're contracted with, probably has some sort of SLA or financial culpability in the outage. Like I said, if this is AtGames, who knows how bad this hits sales? Even if they could still sell machines and packs on their websites, they can't send them to anybody's table. So you can't take advantage of them. So people who are aware of this aren't going to buy it. We now have what, 4 different pinball pack products that are going to be released over the next last 3 weeks of the year. None of them are going to be released now, or at least they're going to be significantly delayed, which means all that revenue that they would have had and been able to book in Q4 is now going into Q1. So really is going to look bad on their financial statements. I mean, it's a big miss. Now, again, if they only have 1,500-ish of these out in the wild, the max they're going to lose, is limited to somewhat, but still, it's a lot of money you don't want to lose. And certainly some of those packs are coming out on the Legends HD, which have a much bigger distribution network than just the Legends 4K and the Zen stuff. So again, I am, somewhat, like I said, you forgive, but you hold people accountable at the same time. And Console Kit says here, the only employee of AtGames I'm familiar with is PK. Yeah, like I said, I know a lot of the people that work for AtGames, the ones we know and love, like Wagner. I don't know if Carl O was formerly employed by them or just a tester for them. Rascal, some of these guys, I believe they're all contractors. Tampa Tech. And in addition to that, we know they contract most of the development to Magic Pixel. So there's a lot going on there, right? PK's an engineer. So who's doing their network? Who does their system administration? Chances are that is all contracted out, is my guess. Name a second employee. Is Leah officially an employee? The marketing gal. That might be the only one I know of, but maybe she's a contractor too. I have no idea. I know we have some people in this community that were trying to get jobs with AtGames, but were those contractor jobs or real jobs? I don't know. The lag is fixed. DNS, hold my beer. Indeed. So yeah, I mean, that's really the gist of it. So I just wanted to come on, explain that because one, it is avoidable, should have been avoided, could have been avoided. And if AtGames is working with contractors, my suggestion with PK is reach out to look at your contracts, get some damages, get some recoup some of that money through that. The other thing is you should probably get some cyber insurance. So if you have issues like this again, if they arise significantly enough, you're covered a little bit. But the biggest recommendation to AtGames is, God damn it, get rid of this BS where you have to log in to switch to offline mode, where you have to log in to play these games. Should not be required. Really, really is absolutely ridiculous. Even if it's a setting that say you change it to say you don't have to be logged in every time, but at least once every 30 days or 60 days, maybe. But even then, I'm saying you shouldn't really do that. But if you're worried about some sort of piracy or something, people selling their tables, or I don't know what you would be worried about from that standpoint, but at least you could extend like a 30-day window. That way, at least you weren't down for 30 days. But again, if you were to just go out of business tomorrow, are we all shit out of luck? Do we lose all of our tables? Is this just a doorstop? Is this iArcade all over again? God, I hope not. And you better fix it. In my opinion, you've got to fix it. You owe your consumers that at a minimum. You owe your consumers to make sure that this thing can be played, whether your system is up or not. I understand you might not be able to distribute new games. You might not be able to reinstall games. You might not have access to PinballNet. Those are all online services. I get that. But if I've already downloaded a game, I should be able to play it whether you're up or not. Signed, sealed, delivered. That's it. That's simple. It's just the right thing to do for consumers. And, uh, there's no reason not to do anything else. So it looks like we've got a couple more super chats. So I apologize for not getting to those compute or sooner. Spectre Gaming says, sucks not having any access to a built-in offline mode to play our games. Literally a $2,000 paperweight without their servers. That's absolutely right. But what I will say is, if it is the DNS issue, like they're saying, everything should be good, right? If it's exactly what they're saying, sometime tomorrow. In fact, there may be, if it's DNS caching issues involved in this, like I suspect, some people probably are already able to access some of that. Most of us are not, because if you're playing this, I guarantee your provider has cached all this stuff already fairly recently. So you're waiting pretty much the full 24 hours. But again, you know, if it is just caching related and it's not, we didn't pay our registrar bill or something, that should all be back up by mid-afternoon tomorrow, because all the caching should filter through. So it'll be interesting. Watch, because you typically aren't ever going to see longer than 24 hours for DNS caching issues. It's not impossible, but it's not common. And again, thank you for the $5 super chat, Spectre Gaming, and tuning in. And you know who else thanks you? P-Dubs thanks you. And let's flip back over here. And we got one from Zero Redux, who says, top tier rant. Very much appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate the $5 super chat, Zero. And this is why Forever Physical has to remain. It has to be a mantra. We should demand these kinds of things can't be ripped away from us when we pay it. And no amount of stupid laws in California that add disclaimers so that you know your licensing versus purchasing are sufficient. They shouldn't be allowed to sell you something and then rip it away just because they feel like it, especially when it's something that doesn't require some sort of online service or continued expense on their part to operate. Stupid Fat Hobbit says, AtGames just put up a GoFundMe for the computer to help pay for the issues. Oh, that's pretty funny. Officially unofficial in the house with the super chat says, here's a sure chat for no reason other than this was a good stream and you were spot on. I appreciate that. And let's see, we have all right. Appreciate that. Officially unofficial. And good old Star Wars kid from back in the day. Carlos says, I agree, James. Let's get Xarcade cart ports for our, yeah, that would be sweet. But yeah, I mean, they're downloaded, they're still digital, but man, they shouldn't require us being logged in. Arcade Chippendale dancers. And Jason pointing out the Star Wars guy. And yeah, no Diddy chat tonight. I don't think let's see. So apparently I can't type. I feel, yeah, I'm always on my phone chatting in these things, and it comes autocorrect always makes everything all gibberish. Bobby Broadway in the house says Disney needs to hire that guy. He would be a better Star Wars actor than everybody else I think I've seen in the last few shows. Calvin Wong says that's not Kung Fu Panda. Indeed, it is not. Another Jason says, wonder what Star Wars kid is up to nowadays. I don't know. He's internet famous. If that video was today, he'd parlay that into a podcast and Bitcoin, or a cryptocurrency, all kinds of stuff. We need more fat Jedis. Absolutely. Dre Gott's in the house. And then let's see, is anti Route 53 okay? Must have missed that one. What are the odds that Safecracker is the first table announcement for 2025? He's now working on his PhD. There you go. He's becoming Dr. Star Wars Kid. Very cool. So we've been on for 40 minutes. I don't think we need to belabor this. I really just wanted to, talk to you guys, about what was happening, at least from my perspective as a guy that's done and been in charge of networks for decades at this point. And, again, hopefully we get some relief here tomorrow as this caching catches up and AtGames heeds the call from its consumers to make sure we can still play these things that cost $2,000+ Man, I've bought every table that's come out from AtGames since this thing launched. That's at minimum $5 a week for at least 3/4 of the year. So you tack on that to the amount you spend. Other people are doing the same thing. I'm not unique. They were making a lot of money on just single purchases of this. At least they're making a lot of revenue. I don't know if they're actually making profit. But that comes with the responsibility, and you can be forgiven for network outages, communication issues, all those things. But what you can't be forgiven for is locking people out of tables that don't need online to be able to be played. Fix it. Sorry, due to DNS issues have caused the 2025 announcements to be delayed. Yes. Yep. I would hope the announcements don't get delayed, but you never know. Clearly, they could still make those announcements, but I would imagine they would want to do that under happier circumstances. But since the announcements, I believe, are scheduled for the 24th, that's likely their Christmas present to the community, is to get you hyped to buy all the tables for next year. Hopefully that still happens. What I will say, it's a weird decision, right? I like that they told us 52 games are coming, but if you tell us what they are all now, where's the hype going to be next year? We're just going to be ticking down the clock waiting for these to be released. I like kind of a little bit of excitement where you can, if I'm a marketing guy, I want to be able to push out some things maybe once a month. Guess what's coming next month? But if we do it now and what's coming for the entire year, I appreciate that. But I like knowing, but I only get to be surprised once. And then the rest of the year is just going to be like waiting for what I already know to come. That seems a little disappointing in my opinion. It's like peeking at your Christmas presents before Christmas, right? That's no fun. You open those presents and you already know what you're getting. That's not very exciting. But hey, I'll still enjoy seeing the list, but that enjoyment won't be near as satisfying as it would be if they spread it out like peanut butter. But let's see here. Jason's talking to MG. Gramps says, I'm not aware of any other VPN that has this issue. Bummer for all those impacted. Yeah, so I think most of the other VPNs are either self-contained, or use VPICs, things like that. It's this AtGames system, right? Have a white Russian. And Zero says, by the way, James, everything you have seen the AtGames pet pinball. I haven't actually seen it. I've certainly heard about it. It's going to be interesting what they're doing with the pet thing. Let's see. I don't think they are going to make all the 2025 announcements, maybe only the first quarter. Well, if they do that, that's smart. Because they make it sound like they're going to tell you all 52 tables on the Zen side. So hopefully they don't just spill all the beans. Some of us like opening one present on Christmas Eve. Don't take that away from us. Hey, they can give us one present. They don't have to give us all 52. Holy crap, just made it to the 25th place on the event for Black Knight. That game music gets you jacked. Nice. Congrats. Be ready for those to come to AtGames soon. James hates AtGames P-dubs. He's this season's Grinch. You have been replaced, so you retire now if you want. I don't hate AtGames. I'm just very frustrated with that game. And I wish they, the last stream, right, where we talked about whether the 4KP was a bust. I don't want it to be a bust. I want it to be a huge success because I love the thing. I'd love it more if I could play it right now. In fact, this afternoon, I went over there to play a quick round and couldn't. That's what got me all fired up to begin with. Pinball Project website is also down. It's a conspiracy. Maybe it is. Whenever I hear Bummer, I think about Big Lebowski. Excellent. So, uh, if they can take it away at any time, we should be able to return it and get our money back. I don't disagree with that statement, Galaga guy. I think you're right. I think if they can just shut down at any point and our stuff stops working, we're just renting this stuff and they should be able to reimburse us. You know, we've just paid a deposit to borrow this thing. They should send it back if we, should give us the money back when we ship the table back. If they were in Europe, I would be worried because the EU probably would make them do something like that because they're much stricter on their trade practices and their fair competition practices than the United States is. Now you have to play Zen Pinball on your phone. Oh God, never gonna do that. My brain works in now I'm gonna say what this is really called, not what the creator says, in GIF movie clips. So I'll die on that hill even if he says it's a GIF. It's called a graphic interchange format. It starts with a hard G, so therefore GIF starts with a hard G. Has anyone read their terms of service? It's like, yeah, nobody ever in the history of the world has read their terms of service. In fact, one of my favorite tech columnists, John C. Dvorak, he's now a podcaster, but great tech journalist back in the day. On his website, he buried a terms of service that if you use his website, right, the user agreement, you give him the rights to your firstborn child. You have to write him into your will, all kinds of crazy stuff because nobody ever reads it. And they're still, um, they still hold up in court, which is absolutely insane. They announced the pet thing on their official page with a video and pics. They did? I have got to check this shit out. Is it on their official Facebook page? Uh, let's bring this back up and see if I can. Uh, maybe, is this the pet thing? Oh my God. Oops. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Oh my. Oh my. I got to start that over. What in the hell? A pinball dog themed toy. Oh, treats dangling. What on earth? Now this to me looks like a straight ripoff of Pinball Expo. That's their stuffed animal. All right, there you go. Well, there you go, PD7. You can get Loki something, and you can get Mr. West something. You know, if they can't they can't make the regular tables work, at least they can make the pet ones work. Well, that's pretty cool. Oh my God. Uh whatever. More power to them. What's up, Chaotic? Um Somebody send James an obnoxious DM. Too slow, P-dubs, too slow. Yes, lot of these in the chat. Yes, the dog does look happy, all dancing and fake. Pretty good progress. Carlo got back to Cyberpunk 20. Very cool. Uh, this is real, Galaga guy. We've got a weird dog pinball machine and a catnip toy. So, you know, there you go. Super, super cool. Oh boy. Like I said, game room decor would have been better signs for their licensed game. Absolutely. Yeah, can you imagine 10 signs for that are the flyers to all the Zen pinball machines, even their own, that you could hang on the wall, or better yet, like sell other toppers like that are three-dimensional, like sculpts and things that aren't just this one backlight. There's so many things they could be selling right now. They could have, the plunger heads, many, many, many different things they can sell and make money on. Maybe they will. Maybe they are. Who knows? But they're kicking off their accessories with cat and dog toys. So for all the pet lovers, there's like pets and pinball. That's interesting. If those are real, AtGames is cursed and doomed to fail. Well, it certainly implies that somebody's not keeping their eye on the ball a little bit. But hey, it's something fun. It's lighthearted. Hopefully, they're probably not making too many. Uh, the dog one seems to be the biggest issue. The cat toy one probably isn't all that expensive, but that dog toy looks like somebody's got to build that thing. Oh man, what the hell? You can see now why the DNS got forgotten. MG nails it. MG nails it there. Why is the pinball table not for the cat? Well, cats apparently aren't allowed to play pinball. In fact, the cats are the ones that are more likely to get on that thing, scratch at the posts, right? Shouldn't they be the ones? And the dog has the chew toy. Like, why isn't that a chew toy with a squeaker in the middle? That's more like what the dog would like. And the cat would like the uh, scratch posts. And if they had balls you could bang around on the inside, right? Don't cats love those little ping pong balls in the circular thing that they can beat around? AtGames doesn't even understand what dogs and cats like. They got them backwards, and Meatball Saucy nailed it. Uh, quite fun. Uh, Overpower Production says, at least we can all play with the pet toys next time the server goes down. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Oh man. And yes, Zero, this is all PD7 for sure. uh Justin says, I heard the DNS issue has delayed the custom shooter rods and plungers. Entirely possible. Too bad their logo is yeah, it is. It's very generic 19 late 1990s 2000s with the Legends pinball kind of font and logo. I'm not sure what the little swirl is supposed to mean. Obviously it's supposed to be some sort of G. But sure there's some other meaning behind it that isn't obvious. Licensed drink cup attachments for the pinball legs would be fire. I would imagine if they're going to make accessories, we'd probably see some of those. I, for one, am planning on printing some, uh, plunger heads that can be screwed on myself for a bunch of different tables because it'll be fun. Those two toys are perfect for the claw machine. I don't think you could get that pin. I don't know how big the pinball is, but I'm guessing it's not small. It's probably not going to fit in the claw machine, but certainly the cat toy would. Put a chair under it, maybe. AtGames affordable pet financing. Get your dog toys and pay it off in 12 months. Oh, I wonder if that if a couple YouTubers have special referral codes for the pet toys that nobody else gets. My cat doesn't have balls. Ojib says, if you're really bad at pinball, your pets are going to starve. When the interest comes due, I'll have to sell my stuff. Yeah. Yep. You got to sell it, you know. Oh my. The swirl stands for lag, but don't worry, the swirl is 30% improved. That's excellent. Uh, they are converting the unsold Legends micro pinballs into cat toys. That that may be the case. That is brilliant. That is exactly what they're doing. I'm glad that PK found a use for the old iArcade servers. Um, I hope your cats know how to log in via QR codes. Oh, how disappointing that the catnip only dispenses when the servers are up. Uh, uh, just put a gift certificate for the dog and the cat toys into the claw machine. There you go, and make the dogs and cats play the claw machine. Um, okay. An adult toy company. Hopefully, they'll do a pooper scooper next. Indeed. I'm close to getting a bamboo to mess about with. I'm surprised I don't, Carl. Yep, definitely, Carl. Get a bamboo if you're going to get a 3D printer. They're awesome. But I'm going to wrap it up. We're at about an hour, and man, I tried to wrap it up 20 minutes ago, but man, this the pet thing is hilarious. So at least we have something to laugh about tonight while we can't play our pinball machines. Thanks for the giggles. Sometimes we just have to laugh at this crap. That is absolutely right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Don't forget about Chaotic and Six's Yo Retro show. I believe that's tomorrow. Don't hate me if it's Thursday, but I believe it's Wednesdays. So definitely check them out. Hopefully the servers will be back up in time for them to talk about AtGames pinball and not dwell on the outage. And appreciate everybody for joining us in this late Tuesday night where we can't play anything. So until next time, have fun.